year and a half ago, that attack at Bondi Junction. Sydney is unfortunately felt this way before.
We're actually just going to go to Jeremy Fernandez now.
No, actually, we'll go to the media conference, beginning with the New South Wales Premier.
I appreciate you all being here on a very distressing night in Sydney. At approximately 6:47 this evening, two individuals began firing on a crowded group of families on Bondi Beach at Archer Park. This cowardly act of terrifying violence is shocking and painful to see and represents some of our worst fears about terrorism in Sydney. I very sadly need to report that as of now, there are at least 12 individuals that have been killed. One of the offenders has also been killed and one is in custody. This attack was designed to target Sydney's Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah. What should have been a night of peace and joy celebrated in that community with families and supporters has been shattered by this horrifying, evil attack. Commissioner Lanyon will speak about the investigation, the police response, as well as the designation of this attack as a terrorism event in Sydney. I can assure the community it will be met with a massive, comprehensive police and public order response. Our heart bleeds for Australia's Jewish community tonight. I can only imagine the pain that they're feeling right now to see their loved ones killed as they celebrate this ancient holiday. It's a responsibility of all Australians to wrap their arms around Australia's Jewish community and help them get through this incredibly difficult period. This is a massive, complex and just beginning investigation. It's just begun, and there are things that tonight we don't have the answers to. However, we do have answers to some crucial pieces of information for our wonderful city and our beautiful state. The first one is the outpouring of love and support from ordinary Australians for Australia's Jewish community is real. Secondly, today is another example of the enormous pressure and responsibility, the danger that New South Wales Police regularly face as part of their job. They do it without faltering. They didn't falter today. We need them. And thirdly, tonight saw extraordinary acts of personal courage and bravery from individuals in our community. And I think it's worth remembering that in all of this evil, in all of this sadness, there are still wonderful, brave Australians that are prepared to risk their lives to help a complete stranger. Mel?
Thank you, Premier. Good evening. Premier has outlined the brief circumstances this evening. I'll go through them again. They're more than happy to take some questions. About 6:47 p.m. this evening, police started to receive a number of reports of shots fired at Archer Park at Bondi. Archer Park is a grassed area just north of the Bondi Pavilion. Police responded promptly. Unfortunately, at least 12 people are deceased at this time. 29 people have been transported to various hospitals around the Sydney area, including 2 police officers. The condition of those officers and the other transported are serious, but there is a range of conditions. Our thoughts, prayers and love go to all the families and all of those that were involved tonight. We know that there were many people there to celebrate a happy occasion, the celebration of Hanukkah, and there was well over 1,000 people there when this took place. As a result of the circumstances of the incident tonight, at 9:36 p.m. this evening, I declared this to be a terrorist incident. I have also authorised special powers under Section 5 and Section 6 to ensure that if there is a third offender, and we are currently investigating that at the moment, we will make sure that we prevent any further activity. Section 6 allows us to investigate today's incident. There is a massive police response, and I think as journalists you have seen how quickly and promptly the police responded. I'm incredibly proud of the professionalism of our police and emergency service responders. They have done a fantastic job. Unfortunately, it's only several years ago that Bondi occurred at Bondi Junction. We have learnt a lot from that, and tonight ambulance and police and other emergency responders acted promptly and professionally to do a great job there. We will have a significant investigation. Our Counter-Terrorism Command will lead this investigation with investigators from the State Crime Command. No stone will be left unturned. This type of disgraceful activity, this wanton use of violence, The taking of innocent lives is unacceptable to New South Wales. It's not our way of life. I've been very clear since I've been the Commissioner that as a police force, we won't stand for this type of violence. I'm personally offended. You have seen that the police have already taken prompt action. The Premier has mentioned one of the offenders is deceased, the second one is in serious condition at hospital. We will focus to ensure that there is no further threat to the public. Could I ask, but this is a time of calm. This is a time where I want to make sure that there is no retribution. The police are investigating thoroughly. We have acted promptly. We have taken decisive action. Could I just ask for calm in the community? Allow the police to do our job. We will work closely with community and I'll continue to provide updates about the investigation as they go on. Thank you. I'll hand over to the Minister and then happy to take questions. Sorry.
Do we have an age range of the victims? I see the early days of those deceased.
No, very early, sir. I don't have those details at the moment. As you can imagine, there has been a fair dislocation. The ambulance service responded brilliantly. They've had to convey people right around the city to numerous hospitals. So at this stage, we don't have those details.
Commissioner, there's the 12 people...
Sorry, can I just ask one at a time? Sorry.
Commissioner, do you have any intelligence about the two shooters?
We're working through that at the moment. Obviously, part of the declaration is because I have information about the deceased shooter. It's not something I'm prepared to give at the moment. It will be part of the investigation, but we will work tirelessly through our counter-terrorism command to make sure we investigate all of the circumstances.
Commissioner, the 12 people that are deceased...
Do they include the gunman that is deceased, or is the gunman additional to that 12?
We've set up to 12 deceased at the moment. This is a really fluid situation. I would like to provide more certainty, but certainly the numbers that we are talking at the moment include the gunman.
Were any children among the deceased?
At this stage, I don't believe so. However, I do believe that a child was transported to hospital. Again, I don't want to give information that turns out to be incorrect. It is very early. We know that there has been a number of people turn up to hospital. We've had 29 others transported, and we know people are still turning up there.
What gives you reason to think there might be a third gun person arrested?
Unfortunately, in these sort of circumstances, we get information from a range of areas. We tend to be as safe as we possibly can so that we know that we have two definite offenders, but we want to make sure the community is safe. So we will run down this investigation. The reason that we have so many investigators out tonight is we can make sure that that happens. The fact that we've declared this as a terrorist incident, we've provided special powers, is to make sure that we prevent any further. I cannot confirm there is a third offender, but I want to make sure there's no stone left unturned.
Some news outlets are reporting a home in Bondi is being raided. Can you confirm that?
No, I'm well aware on social media that an identity of a person believed to be one of the gunmen has been circulated there. When I ask for calm, that is really important. This is not a time for retribution. This is a time to allow the police to do their duty. So police are responding to make sure that all of the community is safe. That is our role.
What can you tell us about public order riots, court officers raiding homes? Is that happening right now?
What I'd say to you is that we have police right around the city at the moment to make sure that all of the community is safe. I don't want to go into too much specific activity. Our job is to respond to intelligence we get, respond to information, but make sure the community is safe. So unashamedly, we do have a lot of public order and riot squad and other police out on the streets at the moment to make sure there is calm. This disgraceful act will not go unpunished. Sorry.
So given it was a Hanukkah event, first night of Hanukkah, were there any additional police resources around the Bondi area or Dover Heights in case there was any problems?
There certainly were police patrolling that area. We were well aware and we worked closely with the Jewish community in terms of Hanukkah. The Jewish community has its own security group that we work very closely with, so there were police present. The fact there was such prompt action taken demonstrates the police were present.
Is there still an active threat tonight?
Sorry?
Is there still an active threat?
No, what I've said before is that we are aware definitely of two offenders at the moment. One of those is deceased, one is in hospital at the moment. We want to investigate thoroughly so that if there is a third offender or any other people are linked to this matter, we will investigate them and take action against them.
What intelligence do you have about this third person? Was he there with a gun? Is he outside of the area? What intelligence do you have? I think people need calm and worry that there's someone on the run still.
It's way too early to give that information. The community can be very reassured that the police responded quickly. The police have responded in numbers. We have a significant investigation underway at the moment. We will be following all people linked to those gunmen that we know, and we'll take action to keep the community safe. The community can rest assured that the police will take positive action to keep them safe.
What weapons were used and were they sourced illegally? And what can you tell us about the improvised explosive device found under the bridge?
It's way too early to give any description of the firearms other than to say that they were long arms. Where they came from, their background, how they came to be in possession of the offenders, it's too early to say. As part of the investigation and shortly after the shooting occurred, police located a vehicle in Campbell Parade at Bondi, which we believe has several improvised explosive devices. We have our rescue bomb disposal unit there at the moment working on that.
What is the latest on that?
It's still underway at the moment.
Are they
Were any of these
devices or?
It's too early to say that. As I said, we've got our rescue and bomb disposal unit there. They will take the appropriate action. They're experts in their field.
Were either of the two individuals, the deceased and the one in custody, known to authorities before this evening?
Only little on the offender that's deceased at the moment. I won't go into their background. That's obviously part of the investigation. Certainly form part of my consideration as whether to consider this to be a terrorist event.
Were any of the gunmen licensed to hold firearms, and do we know whether they were known to ASIO or New South Wales Police?
It's too early in that investigation.
Why did you declare it a terrorist attack?
There was a range of circumstances. Obviously, the fact that it's the first day of Hanukkah, the types of weapons, the offenders, some of the other items we found at the scene. As I said, we have found an improvised explosive device in a car, which is linked to the deceased offender. So there's a range of circumstances, and obviously the Jewish community has a right to feel safe. We will take serious action.
Commissioner, you knew about the gunman that was deceased. How did you miss this attack? No.
I don't even think that's a reasonable question. What I said is that we are aware of the person. That does not mean there was any specific threat posed by that person. If the police had intelligence that there was a risk to the community or to this event, we would have taken significant action. This is a tragic event. This is not the time to be pointing the finger. There will be a thorough investigation. My main focus is to make sure that the community feels safe and know that the police are there to support them and keep them safe.
Commissioner, how can two people with guns, improvised explosive devices in a car, organise something like this, potentially with a third person, and police do not know that it's coming?
Well, I think if you think about the size of the community here, our police do a fantastic job. Day in, day out, you see the work that we do to prevent crimes happening. We need intelligence to actually do that. As I said, the person that we know has very, very little knowledge to the police. So he's not someone that we would have automatically been looking at this time.
What can you tell us about the two injured police officers? Do you have their ranks? Has anyone been able to speak to them?
I wouldn't want to provide those details at the moment. We've obviously got next of kin coming down. Their loved ones will be with them. I want to make sure that they have some time in peace before we do. It's too early to provide that information.
Do you have a condition report at all?
Serious, verging on critical, and both are in surgery.
Commissioner, I understand a rabbi was among those who have been killed. Can you confirm that?
I can't confirm that, sorry.
This might be one for the Premier. Have you spoken to the Prime Minister, and is there any indication the national terror threat level will be raised?
I have spoken to the Prime Minister. I'll leave that up to him to inform the public of. But he offered all the support to New South Wales, and we both reflected on how shocking and terrifying this evil attack was.
Premier, what would you say to people who are scared right now?
Look, I understand that. This is a shocking event. It's not common in Australia, and it's all the more shocking because of that. What I can say is that there will be a comprehensive police response. Anything New South Wales Police needs in terms of resources, we will provide them. If there's changes that need to be made, we will do that immediately. I mean, we need to be in a situation where we're sending a clear and unambiguous message to the Jewish community, in fact, every Australian that lives in this state, that these horrible acts of violence will never be tolerated, and anyone who perpetrates them, we will throw the book at. Anyone who's thinking about it will be thoroughly investigated. This is a terrible night for Sydney, but I think it's important to say we can't let these evil people divide Australia up. We need to be in a situation where, as shocking as this is, there are still wonderful people in the Bondi community right throughout New South Wales. That's what these terrorists want. They want Australians divided and at each other's throats, and we can't let that happen. In fact, we won't let that happen.
Premier, at least two people, potentially three, have worked together to organise a mass shooting event with shotguns at Bondi Beach. There's been IEDs in a car planted nearby. further to what I asked the Commissioner, has there been a failure here? Has there been a failure in intelligence or policing?
Look, I mean, I think in the circumstances, it's reasonable that both the government and the police conduct an investigation. There will be, of course, a full inquiry. But when you're looking at several hours after this horrifying event, it's important that police focus on community safety right now and ensuring that the immediate vicinity is locked down, that the public, those who've been injured, are transported to hospital, and that there's not an immediate ongoing threat. There'll be plenty of times for a thorough investigation, I can assure the public.
The Acting Deputy Commissioner for National Security for the AFP, and Mike Burgess, the Director General of ASIO. And we don't normally talk at confirmed meetings of the National Security Committee, but I think at this moment it is appropriate to tell Australians that the National Security Committee was convened as a matter of urgency, and we have just come from it. This afternoon, there has been a devastating terrorist incident at Bondi at the Hanukkah by the Sea celebration. This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith. An act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism, that has struck the heart of our nation. An attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on every Australian, and every Australian tonight will be, like me, devastated on this attack on our way of life. There is no place for this hate, violence and terrorism in our nation. Let me be clear, we will eradicate it. Amidst this vile act of violence and hate will emerge a moment of national unity where Australians across the board will embrace their fellow Australians of Jewish faith at this dark moment for our nation. Our police and security agencies are working to determine anyone associated with this outrage. Our agencies will provide you with factual updates as quickly as possible as they continue to emerge. The evil that was unleashed at Bondi Beach today is beyond comprehension, and the trauma and loss that families are dealing with tonight is beyond anyone's worst nightmare. Australians have had their lives cruelly stolen, and many have been injured. For all Australians, our first thoughts are with those in the terrible early hours of their grief. We are also thinking of everyone being treated for their injuries, and many of whom are alive right now because of the courage and quick action of the New South Wales Police and the first responders who rushed to their aid, as well as the courage of everyday Australians who, without hesitating, put themselves in danger in order to keep their fellow Australians safe. We have seen Australians today run towards danger in order to help others. These Australians are heroes, and their bravery has saved lives. As Prime Minister, I say on behalf of all Australians to the Jewish community, we stand with you, we embrace you, and we reaffirm tonight that you have every right to be proud of who you are and what you believe. You have the right to worship and study and live and work in peace and safety, and you enrich us as a nation. You should never have to endure the loss that you have suffered today. You should never know the fear that you know tonight. We will dedicate every resource required to making sure you are safe and protected. You are Australian, and all Australians are with you today and every day. My fellow Australians, I say tonight that there are nights that tear at our nation's soul. In this moment of darkness, we must be each other's light. Hold on to the true character of the country that we love. Australia is stronger than the cowards who attacked innocent people today. Australia is braver than those who seek to make us afraid. Australia will never submit to division, violence or hatred. We will see justice done, and we will come through this together. I'd ask Acting Deputy Commissioner Ryan to to make some comments, and then Director General Burgess.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Firstly, our thoughts go out to the families and communities that have been affected by this senseless attack today. The AFP stands next to the New South Wales Police and with ASIO in our joint counter-terrorism arrangements, and we'll put all resources we can, all our specialist powers, all our specialist resources towards ensuring that this matter is investigated as thoroughly as possible. In relation to the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team, we have heard that there has been a declaration of a terrorist incident that will enable the AFP, along with ASIO and New South Wales Police, to use specialist powers in relation to this investigation. I don't wish to speculate in relation to any of the information that is currently known. This matter is ongoing. It is in its early stages, and we will continue to work with New South Wales Police to ensure that it's investigated as best as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Nigel. Thanks, PM. ASIO was also a member of the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team, and our principal role at this stage is to support the police in their ongoing investigation. But at the same time, as is standard practice for us, we are looking at the identities of the attackers, and where that is known, we're looking to see if there are anyone in the community that has similar intent. It's important to stress at this point we have no indications to that fact, but that is something we have active investigations on. The national terrorism threat level remains at probable. I don't see that changing at this stage. Probable means there is a 50% chance of an act of terror, and unfortunately we've seen that horrific act occur tonight in Australia. Thank you.
A few questions. Charles?
Prime Minister, you've called this terror. Are you aware of any other terror threats at the moment, and what's your message to Jewish Australians who may not feel safe in Australia tonight?
My message to Jewish Australians is that your fellow Australians stand with you tonight in condemning this act of terror, in condemning this outrage. I've had a number of conversations with people tonight. One of the Jewish community leaders said to me that we know where anti-Semitism leads, that it leads to an attack on everyone, not just Jewish Australians. And this attack at Bondi Beach, of all places, a place of celebration, a place where people, particularly in Sydney, but from all over the world, come to enjoy each other's company, and to, in this case, at the Bondi Pavilion there. I'm very familiar with that pavilion. This senseless attack is one which is an act of terror. It is aimed at creating fear. But we will stand with the Jewish community and Jewish Australians at this time.
Prime Minister, in light of this attack, is the government going to move on any of the recommendations in the Special Envoy's report on anti-Semitism in Australia?
Yeah, we're continuing to work on all of those issues, including one of the things that you'll see is a request that had previously been made to be included in additional funding for security as well. And I know that it is, this is an incredibly tough time for the community to deal with this. It's important that they don't deal with it alone, that everyone stand with them at this time. And then we'll fill in then.
Left unchecked, as you were just saying, anti-Semitism leads to terrorism and violence targeting the innocent. Your government has come under criticism in claiming that it has effectively responded to the rise of anti-Semitism in Australia since October 7, 2023. In September, your government recognised a Palestinian state. Your ministers have attacked the Israeli government. Senior ministers refused to visit the sites of the October 7 massacres. and you created a special Islamophobia envoy alongside an anti-Semitism envoy. Have you taken the threat of anti-Semitism seriously, and can you guarantee the safety of Jewish Australians?
Yes, we have taken it seriously, and we've continued to act. We've continued to work with Jewish community leaders. We've continued to take all the advice from the security agencies to put in place special measures, and we'll continue to do so. Phil?
For Mr Burgess or Deputy Commissioner Ryan. Mr Burgess, you've been warning for a long time about the risk of this sort of attack, localised extremism. I think, were any of these people on your watch list? I think the New South Wales Commissioner just said they were aware of one of these characters. They were keeping an eye on him. Was he on either of your radar at all?
So it's too early to give you any more details, Phil, other than to say, like the New South Wales Police, one of these individuals was known to us, but not in an immediate threat perspective. So obviously we need to look into what happened here.
Mr Burgess, you mentioned that the chance of another attack is probable, or 50%. I'm just wondering, how does that mean that there is still a 1 in 2 chance of a follow-up attack? And does ASIO or the other security agencies take more precautions now that you've seen such a devastating attack?
So the national terrorism threat level of probable means there's a 50% chance, so 1 in 2, of course. That doesn't mean to say there's a connection to an immediate attack following this one. That is subject to our ongoing investigation. We have no indications that that is the concern at this stage, but of course we will work 24/7 along with our police colleagues to make sure that is the case.
Mr Burgess, given that the events of earlier today, why can you sort of expand on your decision to leave the terrorist threat level at probable? And do you envisage that you will have further conversations about potentially adjusting the terrorism threat level in the coming days?
The national terrorism threat level is under constant review. One incident by itself does not necessarily raise the threat level at a national level, but we keep that under constant review.
Thank you.
Okay, so the Prime Minister there, and before him, New South Wales authorities. The death toll from the Bondi Beach terror attack has now risen to 12, including one of the gunmen. New South Wales Premier describing their extraordinary acts of personal bravery and courage amid the murderous attack. In all of this evil, who's saying there are still wonderful, brave Australians prepared to risk their lives to save strangers. So it started at 6:47 p.m, just north of the Bondi Pavilion. Police are saying they responded promptly. 29 people transported to hospitals. That number has increased significantly, including 2 police officers. They're in a range of conditions. So it's been declared a terrorist incident. There are about 1,000 people at this Hanukkah event that the men fired into. Police believe there was possibly a third person involved. We've heard from some of the witnesses over the last couple of hours that they were frustrated with the speed of the response. Police are adamant they responded quickly and professionally. There was mention there that only several years ago the Bondi Junction stabbing attack happened and that police and emergency services had learned lessons from that. Police are still investigating the possibility that there are improvised explosive devices on Campbell Parade at Bondi.
Joe, we also then heard from the Prime Minister, who has convened a meeting of the National Security Committee of Cabinet. This has been a committee of 9 senior ministers who received briefings from all manner of security agencies. The Prime Minister called it a devastating terrorist incident. He said it was a targeted attack on Jewish Australians and an act of evil anti-Semitism, calling it a terrorist incident. He said there's no place for this hate, violence and terrorism. And he said, let me be clear, we will eradicate it amidst this vile act of violence. And amidst this vile act of violence and hate will emerge a moment of national unity where Australians across the board will embrace their fellow Australians. We heard from ASIO there as well, who are looking at the identities of the attackers. We already know the identity of one of them, thanks to investigative reporter Sean Rubenstein-Dunlop with the ABC. He's been able to confirm from a senior law enforcement official that one of the gunmen was Naveed Akram from Bonnyrigg in Sydney's southwest. The official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said that that gunman's home in Bonnyrigg was being raided by police. We also heard from ASIO about the terrorist threat. It remains at probable, and we're not expecting at this stage for that to change. And the Prime Minister was also asked there about Gillian Siegel's report on anti-Semitism. She's the anti-Semitism envoy. The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said he's continuing to work on those recommendations that she made. He specifically mentioned there one of the requests, which was for additional funding of security. And I might just quickly mention, Joe, that the anti-Semitism envoy, Gillian Siegel, has made a statement as well tonight while those press conferences were happening. I won't read you the whole thing, but just a couple of key lines. She said, "This did not come without warning." She said, "In Australia, it began on 9th October 2023 at the Sydney Opera House. We then watched a march across the Sydney Harbour Bridge, waving terrorist flags and glorifying extremist leaders. Now, death has reached Bondi Beach." She says, "To ordinary Australians, this moment demands clarity, and what once seemed distant or uncomfortable can no longer be ignored." Gillian Siegel then saying, "Australia responded decisively after Port Arthur in 1996. This moment requires the same action, and the words are no longer enough." So a lot of information there on this mass fatality event. At least 12 people killed at Bondi Beach just a matter of hours ago, just before sunset at a Hanukkah, first night of Hanukkah event. In all of that, in going to the Prime Minister, we had to leave that press conference from the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, and the New South Wales Police Commissioner. Let's return you to there and bring you the rest of his comments.
Look, I mean, I think in the circumstances, it's reasonable that both the government and the police conduct an investigation. There will be, of course, a full inquiry. But when you're looking at several hours after this horrifying event, it's important that police focus on community safety right now and ensuring that the immediate vicinity is locked down, that the public, those who've been injured, are transported to hospital, and that there's not an immediate ongoing threat. There'll be plenty of times for a thorough investigation, and I can assure the public that that will take place. But we need to let the police do their job tonight.
Is there any intelligence shared from the Australian Federal Police?
I'm not going to get into that.
Is there any information to the motive of the offenders beyond it being a terrorist incident?
No, I mean, the fact that it was the first day of Hanukkah, that there were Jewish families celebrating as a community in Bondi, it's shocking and terrible and self-evidently a terrorist act.
The police operation is still continuing around Bondi, obviously. I mean, it is getting late for some people. Will schools be opening that area tomorrow? Practically, what should people be thinking about tomorrow? Like, still staying home, staying out of that area? What is the advice for people?
My understanding is that private schools are closed tomorrow. The end of the year has already begun for many of the private schools, particularly in Sydney's eastern suburbs. But the government schools, the Secretary Murat Disda is looking at options for those communities. We'll communicate that as soon as possible. If you're a parent, particularly in that community, please look at your school social media account in the morning to work out whether schooling is going ahead or not. Police, it's obviously an ongoing situation. Police need to provide security, but if we can put in place a situation where there's not many sites, then that'd be a good thing tomorrow morning.
Mr. Minns, you've spoken about the bravery on the beach tonight. What are your thoughts on, there's a video of a member of the public wrestling one of the guns off one of the offenders?
I think it's the most unbelievable scene I've ever seen. A man walking up to a gunman who had fired on the community and single-handedly disarming him, putting his own life at risk to save the lives of countless other people. That man is a genuine hero. And I've got no doubt that there are many, many people alive tonight as a result of his bravery.
Can you please confirm, is the man whose body room home is being raided, is he the person who is deceased?
I won't confirm that at the moment. All I'll say is that we're aware there is a social media post. I'd have to ask for people to remain calm at the moment.
And I understand that there's 3 people clearly visible in one of the videos. Is that third person the one that you are still trying to locate?
What I've said is we have confirmed there were definitely 2 offenders. We are investigating now to identify whether there was a third offender. Often in these sort of situations, a lot of things happen at once. You can imagine the chaos that was down there, the fear that were in members of the public there. We need to make sure that we get this information right. The fact that we've taken a positive step by declaring it as a terrorist event, providing special powers for investigations, shows how serious we are about making sure we investigate this thoroughly.
Also worried still, though, Commissioner, is there potentially a third gunman on the run?
Well, I think what I've said at the moment is we have confirmed 2, but I think the community should be very reassured that the police are so thorough in New South Wales. We want to make sure that if there is any threat, We are aware of it and we take action to prevent.
We'll take a couple more. The police obviously have
Can
to
you
get
tell
on.
us about the victims in terms of age, gender, anything like that, about the 12?
No, sorry, I was asked that one earlier. It's too early at this stage to provide those details.
Premier, police premiers outside of the Bondi area have been put into this.
Sorry?
How many police resources outside of the scene in Bondi have been put onto this investigation?
We'll put as many police officers as are required to investigate that matter. I've already indicated we have a significant presence from our counter-terrorism command, from our state crime command, and for all of the police area commands around Sydney. We'll put as many police as required. It is that serious, and the community, I want to feel safe.
James, last one, yes.
I was one more now. Ask Minister.
Did you say something about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're deploying extra resources from Victorian Police, is that correct? Are we stripped of our resources here because it's such a large-scale event?
No, I think what it is, we will look for whatever resources. So it may well be if there's a specialist resource that we require we don't have. We are an incredibly capable police force. We have the capability and the resources to investigate this sort of matter. It is not unusual at all, but for police forces to seek assistance and work with other police forces. As you can imagine, I've had offers from every police commissioner around Australia tonight to provide any assistance they can. That is what the policing family is like. That is our role. We're here to keep the community safe.
Minister, has there been anything that the police have asked the executive government for in terms of extra funding, extra powers, extra manpower on the ground? Is that from you?
As has been said by the Premier, we're just a few hours into this investigation, but let me be very clear. The government will provide the police with what they need to continue this investigation, for it to be thorough, and for the people of New South Wales to have the confidence in the New South Wales Police doing their job. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so that wasn't live, but just a replay of the end of that New South Wales media conference that we interrupted to bring you the Prime Minister's remarks on this horrific attack that happened in Bondi about 4 hours ago now. So the Premier there repeatedly asked questions about the speed of the police response. That's something that we've heard raised in numerous interviews with witnesses through the last couple of hours, saying that they felt frustrated that the police or the gunmen weren't neutralised sooner. The Premier saying that the focus needs now to be on an investigation into this terror attack, and there'll be plenty of time later for a full investigation into the response. And we've been bringing you images repeatedly over the last couple of hours of this incredible moment where a man wrestles the gun off one of the gunmen, and we might be able to play that now. And the Premier is asked about that. And from what the Premier was saying, Casey, it sounds like this may be a civilian.
It does sound like it, right? I suspect a lot of words are going to be said about this man, but Chris Minns was there heaping praise on this man who we saw video of wresting that long rifle out of the hands of a gunman and sort of beating him away. Chris Minns described him as a genuine hero. He said, "I've got no doubt there are many, many people alive tonight as a result of his bravery." Just extraordinary, an extraordinary intervention from that man. He seems to have taken it off his back.
And here it is here.
To tackle.
So this the civilian that we now understand is a civilian in that white T-shirt running up to this gunman who's just been firing from a bridge 50 metres away into a crowd of around 1,000 people that we hear now. And what the witnesses were telling us, it was for about 10 minutes. It seemed to take, and that it started about 6:47. So this man runs up to this gunman, wrestles the gun off him, and then we see what looks like a kid come up and throw something at the gunman, and all the while they were there was the other gunman up on the bridge. And we see here now he fired at least one shot towards them. So the New South Wales Premier describing that man's actions as those of a genuine hero, and no doubt we'll hear much more about him amid the horror of what has happened today and this news that we've just heard in these last two media conferences, that the death toll from this is now 12, including one of the gunmen.
Yes, we now know one of those gunmen that we've been seeing this vision of has died. The other in police custody with injuries. Police, no doubt, very keen to speak to that person. We know the identity of one of those gunmen, and we know that their house in Bondi has been raided by police as well. Our reporter Digme Worthmuller has been at the scene, keeping in touch with first responders all evening. Digme, we're at nearly 4 hours now since this incident started. What's the latest? What do you know?
Yeah, well, we're based here in North Bondi at the police cordon. Just a little bit further down to my right, the North Bondi RSL is located down there. And this evening, police, ambulance, emergency services have been coming and going. Just moments ago, we saw a number of armed police going through the cars just behind me and checking through the windows and just checking through, double checking the area here and making sure that everything is safe as it can be. I was speaking to one of our reporters who got to the scene very early on, Isabel Rowe, and she was in one of the very initial police cordons before they then extended it out. And she said that the public have since been evacuated out of that area, but now with the darkness falling on Bondi, it's becoming very difficult for emergency services to comb through that scene where the shooting took place this evening at around 7 p.m. You could probably hear and see that the wind is really picking up here in Bondi, and it's also hampering police efforts by blowing the sand off Bondi and onto emergency services as they work through what is now a crime scene here in Bondi. To recap some of those critical pieces of information from the press conference that we've just heard, 12 people confirmed dead, one of which is the gunman. And there's also 29 other people that have been dispatched to various hospitals around Sydney with injuries, gunshot injuries. And police did say during that press conference that more people are continuing to show up to those hospitals as they have sustained injuries as the gunfire rang out at around 7 p.m. tonight. Police also said that they are receiving reports that a child had been injured, but they are still working to verify that piece of detail. Right now, there's still a heavy police presence, people coming and going. Police K9 units, dog units have been driving around the suburb here in Bondi to make sure that there is a heavy police presence. In the press conference, one of which Prime Minister Anthony Albanese addressed the nation, he said that there will be a heavy police riot squad as well as military presence in the area. And we have seen some of those personnel coming and going from the scene here. We've also seen dogs on the street. And so safety is the paramount importance for police as they continue into tonight and figure out what exactly more they can do to make sure everyone's at ease as they head to bed tonight.
And Digby, just on the ongoing and active investigation, we heard from police that they're investigating the possibility that maybe a third person was involved in this shooting. But the other piece of information that or the other piece of information they've shared, and you've been reporting for us for some time now, is this potential explosive device at Bondi Beach. You've seen members of the bomb squad, I think, coming through. What's the latest there? What do we know?
Yeah, surprisingly, there wasn't a whole lot of detail around the explosives situation. It is still very much an active scene down here. And like I said earlier, those armed police officers have been going through, checking cars. But there was an initial bomb threat down by Campbell Parade between the car park, a bridge and Bondi Beach. And police are concerned that there was a potential IED located under that bridge. They did, however, find in their searches of the cars, they did find one vehicle containing explosive materials. That was one point they did touch on during that press conference. And that vehicle contained some explosive materials. And so what they now need to do is they need to go through and check every other car because it's unsure how many cars the shooters came in and whether there are any other threats, which is why we're still seeing such a heavy police presence down here. Even just now, we can see police coming out of the scene. I'm just going to step to the side so you can see that. But they would have just driven past now. So they're still driving around and checking. A little bit further down where the camera is now, you'll see the North Bondi RSL. There's still a very heavy police presence down that end of Bondi. We can't get any closer than where we are right now because there are multiple police cordons in place to A, keep people safe, but B, make sure that they can get a handle on the situation. It's at around this evening, there was also other information around this incident being declared as a terrorist act, but there'll be more information as the night goes on.
Reporter Digby Worthmuller down for us live at Bondi Beach, as has been there for several hours now. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you.
And Dana Farfan lives in North Bondi and was near the bridge where the shooting took place. Dana joins us now. Dana, welcome. Just first of all, your reaction to this horrific incident that's happened in your neighbourhood.
Yeah, I was actually walking down to North Bondi Fish with my friend when I passed Raw Bar, and we were walking down the street and we heard a few bangs, and we see that there was a Hanukkah festival going on, and I was like, oh, fireworks, like that's exciting. We jumped a little bit when we heard it because it was very loud. And then my friend looks at me and we were just laughing about the fact that it was fireworks. And then we stop, and then I look over, and then I see all these people running and screaming, and then I said, that's not fireworks. I turned to my friend and I grab her hand and I say, it's a shooting. I say, it's a shooting, we need to run. And I grab her and I start bolting. I'm bolting for my life. I look behind, I see thousands of people, hundreds of people just running and running. And then I pass the crepe shop at the end near the park, and I turn the corner, and the first car I saw, I just jumped to the car. I banged on the window and I said, hey guys, can you please let my friend and I in? There's a shooting. And I didn't know what to think. I just went fight or flight. I jumped in the car, and then the next thing I know, there's another girl who came in. She jumped on top of us in the car. My friend was on the floor of the car. I was in the middle of the car, and then the new girl who just jumped in was on the left of us. And these boys, they start flooring the car. I'm terrified. We don't know what's going on. At this point, we can still hear the gunshots. We speed up the street. We turn left, and then they drop us home. I run into my house and I explain to my dad what's going on, and at first initial reaction, he didn't even believe me because Bondi is such a safe community. It's the last thing I'd ever think to happen on a Sunday with families and friends around. Bondi's always been such a safe community. It's been a bubble, and so my dad didn't believe me until we heard police sirens, and then that was when it really clicked, and we were just in shock, the three of us. We didn't know what to think, we didn't know what to feel, and it's just devastating to think that this would happen before Hanukkah and Christmas on a night that's meant to be so peaceful for families, the Jewish community, and friends and people who are visiting Australia. And the image this is put onto our community is just awful, and it's shocking, and yeah, it's
And
insane.
Dana, you would be, as a local, you'd be familiar with that bridge that the gunmen were on. How far do you think you were from that bridge when you heard those shots?
When I heard the gunshots, I was honestly opposite it, pretty much.
On Campbell Parade.
Yeah. So I did, initially when we were at Raw Bar, I did see two men in just wearing black. I didn't see any gun. I didn't see anything. I didn't think anything. It's Bondi. It's safe. I cross that bridge every day. My mum walks our dog on that bridge every day. So I would never think anything of it. And then it just goes to show how safe of a community we think it is when I believe it's fireworks. And then when I saw the look on people's faces, it just clicked to me straight away that I just had to start running. And then I did remember a guy actually came bolting past us as well, telling us to run, but I didn't think anything of it until I really saw the hundreds of people just start running.
And Dana, have you been kind of born and bred in Bondi? And if so, what do you know about the Jewish community and how important the Jewish community is to the Bondi scene?
Yeah, I was born and bred in Bondi. So my friend that I was with was actually Jewish. So she did actually want to go to the festival. I didn't particularly want to go just because we had plans, but yeah, that's why it's also so freakish to me. But yeah, the Jewish community, it's very strong. It's very big, especially in the eastern suburbs around Bondi and Dover Heights. And tonight was meant to be a peaceful night for them, a night of celebration, and it was cut short. So.
Okay, Dana, thanks for talking to us. And yeah, this has obviously affected the families and friends of those who've died terribly and those who've injured, but also people like you who've been through the trauma of this and witnessed it. So thanks for talking to us this evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thousands of people, Joe, at this venue, this beach, this icon of Sydney and the world.
I was walking down the street. I've seen some people. They've been running away.
Been affected.
This is a targeted
We've heard
attack.
so many accounts from eyewitnesses this evening. People that were there, people that know people that were there, and your heart breaks for them. Let's bring you one more of them now. This is Catherine Merchant, who actually works for the ABC with Triple J. She was at Bondi Beach, and she said that the shots sounded like they went on for minutes. We spoke to her earlier, and she described the harrowing incident.
Was walking along the beach, which is one of my favourite things to do, and then everyone was just running, and there were bullets, and there were so many of them, and we were really scared. We didn't know where they were coming from.
I'm sorry, Catherine. I know it's really hard what you've been through.
I'm totally guilty because I wasn't even right where those poor people were. But we just didn't know. And we were just running, and I was thinking, we're not going to hide. So we didn't know whether to go up toward the icebergs or whether to hide in the bushes and behind the rocks. And there were people who didn't speak English, and they were crying, and I was so scared. Because that sounds silly, but we thought maybe someone had taken one of those surf life-saving buggy things, and they were just driving around the beach shooting people. We just didn't know. And there was so many bullets. And I just called my son. He's just a teenager, and I just was like, what's happening? We don't know what's happening. Anyway, after a while, finally the police came. There was sirens, and we thought maybe we were safe, but then all these people started running from another direction, from the icebergs coming down to our spot, and we didn't know if there was another gun person coming from another direction. And then eventually things quietened down. There was a lot of gun smoke, but we knew, I guess, we could start to come out and then go from there. And, then we started to realise what had actually happened.
So it's Eyewitness Catherine Merchant who was there as this shooting unfolded, I think, struggling to put into words, but entirely understandably just how traumatic and difficult this was for everyone. The 12 people that have died, including one of the gunmen, many more injured, and of course we're hoping, but there is always that chance that that death toll increases.
Yeah, and we should mention again, because there was a really significant jump in that media conference that we just heard from with the New South Wales authorities, because initially they were saying 12 people, I think, injured, and then suddenly in that media conference that's jumped to 29.
29 people in hospitals around Sydney,
yeah.
a really, really significant number of injuries. You're right, Joe. We've got to bring reporter Digby Worthmuller, who is at Bondi Beach. Let's bring him back in, because I think, Digby, you've got an update on the status of this explosive device?
Yeah, that's right. I just spoke with the police media team here in North Bondi, one of the police cordons, and they confirmed that those explosive devices and explosive material that they had found inside a vehicle has been secured and removed. Just moments ago, we saw 2 large police trucks leave the scene behind me, and police have just told me that the whole area behind me, I'm just going to step out of frame so you can see the area that I'm talking about. This area behind me, where I'm not sure if you can see there's some police officers walking in the distance, that has been cleared. And so now what that means is police have deemed this secure, and it allows now for it to be treated as a crime scene. So police crime scene investigators will now come in now that it is safe to do so, and they will now start to comb through this area of Bondi now that it is safe to do so. It's still unsure whether other areas in Bondi, we're in the north end of Bondi, down by the North Bondi RSL, which is a little bit down further, 100 metres to my right. So this area has been secured, and the explosive material that has found has been removed, but it's still unsure whether the southern end of Bondi has been secured yet. So I'm not able to confirm that area. But what I can say is that police have secured this area of Bondi, which is some good news amongst the tragedy this afternoon. 12 people dead, one of which is the gunman, the other gunman injured but taken into custody. We're hearing reports that 29 people have shown up to hospitals or were transported to hospitals across Sydney. And in that press conference a little earlier this evening, they did say that a number of people were still continuing to arrive and present to those hospitals. Just looking around, it's still windy and there's still a heavy police presence, and so the message still stays the same for people to just stay away from the area as they continue their work. And just finally, we have started to see some flowers start to be brought down to this police cordon here in North Bondi. A couple of young gentlemen came and laid 2 flowers down by the police cordon here, and we can only expect more to fill this area over the coming.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for our coverage of this mass shooting terrorist attack at Bondi Beach in Australia. We'll be back later today. Thanks for being here.
That's all, folks.